Rovokaleungil tutale korgalo mese orengs. Kamtamral merenga sule la rubakal Dios meral kora makalokol tabalu kora be sertial ul makadamral merenga sule la rubakal Dios sertial mal lungil ul kuk opake gatham merkit. Akmal ngutialte ale mal merenga sule la aridan Ngiralmau el guklo sab evel ngungal lo alel ra Denzyl Mariei Ngiralmau el may nga mil lem lokorora blura kwam anti talal matamala adar Belau hingga nga mlato Denzyl University of Guam nilu bachelor's ngira human resource and mal master of business business administration el angodol gire la master ngi manga moto dara a December makmal merenga sulel aridan mangalo lel gukno sab el may kuko ay sergita ako kora journey ngiral ngara school el mel metoda tay nga kale katamding el wasing graduation el alye rep to karangal get el lato dara high school rim ara college mar ngara college direct el swat el low spera story ngil kuk inspire at least wan el ngal gel Belau ma komal masulang el lopang getar el altutaw malungil tutaw Denzyl Mariei Ngiralmau I'll give it to you and you can introduce yourself and then nakmo mga datu tokor Belau mal sa emme ka hensi tokor Belau hindi pol maringar kan sa emmel mel ko tokora marigel ara maka kora o ay so se ka puigray maliga and who are your parents? El aktidiaw.
So lang, malungil tutaw, ang clear Denzyl Mariei Ngiralmau, ngalgela wilet wehara machordan Ngiralmau, buiray mali, graduate last spring 2025 May with my bachelor's in business administration with a focus in human resource management and with a minor in public administration from the University of Guam, and I'm currently pursuing my master's of business administration at the University of Guam, and I will be graduating in December. Currently I work as the human resources officer at the Guahan Academy Charter School, Guam's largest and first nonprofit charter school.
So, kamnara elementary schooler girl.
So I went to elementary school on Guam. I went to Atacao Elementary School. That's kindergarten to 5th grade.
And
then I went to Antolon Middle School. That's 6th to 8th grade. And then I graduated from George Washington High School in 2020, just at the height of the start of the pandemic. So actually our graduation was a drive-through graduation. So not a normal ceremony.
Oh, really? So, makom drive-through wangaratele.
So it's like a drive-through to get food. So you're dressed up in your gown,
Really?
and then there's a stage. So then we got off at the stage, and then 6 feet, right? They measured 6 feet. So we just walk with there's tape, there's X's on the row on the stage. So we just step on one X to another X. We took a picture, and then we got into our car and then left.
Oh, wow.
So it's not a traditional graduation.
Because it was COVID. Yeah. And then katobera GWM at University of Guam.
Yes. So I think in my it's really unique. I guess my year, all my grade mates, we have a different experience because we all started college online. So my first 2 years of UOCHI, we were completely online.
Wow. Because of COVID.
And then it was not only until my junior year I started attending classes face-to-face.
So how was it online for the first 2 years?
It was different. It felt different to me because I guess we were not used to online. So it's also adjustment for us. Also, online platformer did, which was Moodle. They didn't use like Google Classroom. They used Moodle, Zoom, and then having to keep yourself accountable because and so you have all that time just to yourself. So you don't really, you have to keep yourself accountable, and that's the thing with online classes. At least when you're face to face, ka o mesta professor rakaw, marigera homework, mariget them test rakaw more down. But as soon as you drop the Zoom call, even in the Zoom call, you can turn off your video and just not pay attention.
Ngara igel ko ramal mle maringal time ra ngara college.
I think for me, it was the adjustment from online to face, because then it was okay, I need to get up and then get ready and then drive in mora yuochi o makalal mora yuochi and then find parking and then go into class. And then at that time it was hybrid, so some classes were online, some were face to face. So then the hybrid classes, we had to find a place sa edel dong oklel ngara online school, and then right before our next face to face class. And then at that time I also started working as a work study. So then it was also managing my work schedule.
Mang gamil garay overcome ay gaigidal challenges ling avevira time metangarnyar ngal gal maral mora school end up al dio dior emodia hal ngara school ngarinya time el kawa koram lo fil el swamel stobel ngara school and if so ngara koram le pusher kaw makamil mol mel ngara school.
I think everyone has those moments, especially when you're taking your bachelor's, because your bachelor's, I think, is the one that's going to feel the most heavy and the longest journey. Because with a bachelor's degree, you're taking the most classes, right? Compared to master's degree, they 2 years. And even associate study, 2 years. So I think for me, what helped a lot was reminding myself that the end goal is mga bachelor's saranga, and that for at least on one side of my family, I'm a first generation college student. So akne ko tin mga bachelor's saranga.
So siya koram le part tam le pusher kaw you want say you want to be the first one because sel gureng sarngal gar el al time to asin soma mel tablol al patokol ngal gal plak rang stream lang wa bachelors or masters atak mo nga ha first generation am lang wa degree nga. So I think say ya while drive ra ngal gal mo malara degree din.
Yeah. And then also I had to remind myself that if I wanted to work a job that is better than just entry level, I have to get that education, right? Because I mean the money is good, right? But I cannot imagine being stuck at entry level or having to start and then you're slowly making your way up when there's a shortcut to doing things. That's my whole thing, is I try to think about the efficiency of the situation, right? Because a bachelor's degree and a master's degree will push you up ladders in your career, rather than there's still value in working your way up, right? But you don't necessarily have to start at the bottom. You can start somewhere near the bottom but still above, and then go up from there, and then it allows you to jump, right?
So I'm Michael challenges sir ka will ka am lot through ringi. Sab evel wase close to la support our parents and family.
Absolutely. My parents have been very supportive, bis nga, I was not only just in school and working, I was also very active in student organizations. So nga kami officer I think 4 to 5 different organizations. I was president for one, vice president for 2 others. And so then they became, my helpers, or if I needed help doing something for a club, I would ask them for their help. My brother. And so I think having that support and understanding, like if I need space to work on things, then it's great. And then also having that time to say, oh, I need to go meet with this group, I need to go meet with my this group to go do projects or whatever.
So sab evel wase our parents are gamle supportive mlanya chores are apply on
course.
top of what you were doing like ayid and morula.
Of course. And that for me that's unsettling. You just I would have to do the chores, but I think it was supported in the way where it's flexible. It's not nga rin nga deadline lagi. We have to do it today. If nga rin nga assignment nga sabi I can push it for the next day. Like marula sa local, right?
Yeah.
Uh-uh.
Mang ang ngara kora ul makam ngaram na inspire ka maka end up palmura business admin with a oh go ahead.
So that's a good question. So when I in high school there was a program. I think here there's a similar program at PCC called Career Technical Education (CTE). So in Guam they have a similar program with the Guam Community College. They reach out to the different high schools and they offer sort of a workforce pathway. So I was in a class called marketing, and then that one, although it was called marketing, it really focused on business development, running. Showed you how to run businesses, and I know it's so misleading. It says marketing, but you learn really entrepreneurship. That was like an entry level to business, and so I guess for me, and then I also grew up helping my mom with her work, general manager da email cleaning company da Guam. So then I think that just kind of made my mindset more business like, and it made me want to go into business. But I have to tell you, when I got to college, I wasn't quite sure. it I was torn between, because I was interested also like in government, so and so I didn't know if I wanted to go political science or even my favorite subject in school was English, so maybe so I can major at English. But then the advice I got from one advisor at EOG, she said, if you're interested in any major, if you don't know what your major is, take the 100 level, the entry level, that major, and see if you're interested in it. Because if you're not interested in the level 100, you're not going to be interested in the higher level. And so I did. I took, we have to take English 100 as a requirement. I wasn't really interested. Political science 100. It was interesting, but not really. But I took business, entry level business, and I really enjoyed myself. And so I ended up staying.
And how about this human resource?
And so that one came from that class, is that there was a guest speaker. She was the vice president or director of HR for Citadel Pacific. Citadel Pacific is the company that owns Shell, IP&E, Foodies, IT&E. So she came to the presentation and she said HR is the heart of the organization, and she really sold it to us. And so as part of a business admin major, you need to take entry level HR. So I took entry level HR, and that's where I met, I guess, also my mentor now, Dr. Joanne Diego. And and I was able to really get inspired and see my niche in that area of business. I liked it more than marketing and economics and finance. But I always say, if I had if I could go back now, looking back, I would definitely do HR, but maybe I would also take a lot more accounting classes. Yeah.
And why is that?
Accounting is just so interesting. Like now, when you get up, when you work more in organizations, you see especially it ties in with HR. Because a lot of HR is also payroll, but you don't really learn that in the basic.
Well, you're still young. Di ka sa malmuter.
Oh,
Mang adsum nga inyar ko rawa maklungem lo me se orangs marngara di to dara University of Guam. Kam go ra share was magamil gara mo part tay gayi the patokal club ma organization. Dimlam ko ra sa kamarur al ubang anyar sa alimel mil nga takar gal most of ML member ay gal organization ma clubs.
No, so in high school, I was very active in clubs. So that one is where my friends came in. So in high school, I became part of student council, close up club. I think nga close up Belau.
Why say?
Oy. And then also DECA, that's the business club. So when I got to college, more a club, right? Because I saw the value in being part of student organizations. but there was not really any. I didn't have friends a lot because we're online, so I didn't really have a lot of university friends because we're all online. And so what happened was that the society, the actually, and the UOG has a student chapter of the professional organization I'm a part of, which is the Society for Human Resource Management. And they had a student chapter, and they presented in our entry level HR class. And so I decided, they look friendly. So by several mortal club and the join, right? And so I saw one familiar face. Um, and so I just went in and I asked, "Oh, can I join?" And then they said yes. So we started. So I joined that club, and then eventually, because I then became president of that club for I think almost 3 years. By virtue of me being friends with I ended up being friends with other business admin individuals, and they said, "Denzel, come join our club, come join." So I ended up joining Entrepreneur Society and becoming vice president of that, a club called Triton Investments, and also the Republic of Palau Student Org, and then becoming officers in those clubs. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-uh.
Smell ako ra master sir ka moto del el December.
Oo.
So kamu ay sir kaya del el as ka tuwa ra last year ko yor makam lagi in sel experience kamala master sir ka will kamuras class ada ko online, how is it?
So, our running joke is that our master's degree is our part-time job. It's our 5 to 9 after our 8 to 5, because all of the master's degree program, there's two routes at UOCHI. There's online and then there's on the ground. I'm really a more face-to-face type person. I like in-classroom experience. So I'm the on the ground. And so I work 8 to 5, and then I go to class 5:30 to 9. Sometimes our professors are nice enough to let us go at 8, 7:30. Very rarely, but really, kita ka mo 9.
No.
Mm-mm. And
El
that's usually 4 days a week.
El ako Dirtial Guahan Academy Charter School.
Yes.
Sero top the school ang mlaring relem raw tiang atang ditayit el imodurelem.
Oh yes. So even while I was doing my bachelor's degree for 2 years, I worked at the School of Business and Public Administration as the teaching assistant for the HR program. So I helped my mentor, Dr. Diego, organize the classes, and also help support the dean's office. After that, I got a job as an administrative support specialist under the EEO, ADA, and Title IX office under the HR office for UOCHI, where I specialized in equal employment opportunity, Americans with Disabilities Act, and Title IX enforcement for the entire University of Guam. And then that's also where I became a EEO counselor, and I was able to help individuals with discriminatory complaints, if they had needed help getting reasonable accommodations, and then also any Title IX complaints. And then I was there from September all the way to April when I started my new job. Mm-mm.
So how do you like it? Nga government ma private at mura.
It's definitely a change. Government, there's a lot of rules to follow, especially on Guam with Department of Administration and Civil Service Commission. But the rules provide structure, right? But then I like that private sector gives you the flexibility to be more creative and flexible with your policies and the way you plan things and the processes that you do. That was always something. In the government, there's always a process. Sometimes I think the processes can be outdated, and there can be a time when you ask, ask questions. I'm very curious about why things are the way they are. I know I've been told that some people take that as disrespectful, but for me, it's a natural curiosity type thing. I'm curious to know why things are the way they are. Why should we do things this way? What's the not justification, right? And so I noticed working in the government, kaniya batokal processes that are maybe outdated, or they did it this way because back then the giriral fax, Xerox, and then typewrite, and then all that. But then now with the advent of everything, we have we can streamline that process, but the process still remains the same, and the reason why is because that's the way we've been doing it. I don't think that's necessarily a justification for to keep on doing things the way, especially if there's a more efficient way that we can deliver services to the people, because ultimately the government serves the people, not themselves, right? And so in the private sector, I like that freedom to make processes more efficient and think outside the box, and have that freedom to say, okay, if this process is not working, let's try something new, and let's cut this, let's cut that, and let's make things more efficient and make things make sense. Yeah.
So have you ever thought I'm gonna sama Belau me get older?
That's definitely been a thought. I like to say I don't block my blessings, so al suko a right opportunity, maybe. That's definitely a maybe.
Mael altia lurelem.
Mm-mm.
Sem compare, I'm sure ka mga taaturar at maanggor kau compare salary range waya skulem kamalara master kara December ma udolder Belau ma udolder akwam there's always issue with the inflation manamota karo kutoy maarala lumakal, and especially with the war in Iran. Kam sukum sab emel gora share elwase let's say if you're making 50,000 ko oitia kwam, are you willing el oitia urelem rakwame me order bela girela maybe 28,000.
Oh, that's so low. That's an interesting question. I think I would have to see all my expenses first and lay it out on an Excel sheet, because I think that's the hard part, and I think that's why a lot of Palauans, when they move to Guam, the decay, or they move to the States, because I think you get used to a certain lifestyle, right? And then when you move back and you earn less money, you have to adjust your lifestyle. Like for me, right? I'm looking at the price of gas. Gas on Guam just went down to $5.90. Belau is $7.
No, 762.
Oh my God. So I just saw the 7 and I just stopped looking at the decimals. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I would drive as much.
So speaking of your expenses, meel ako a master kau. Kau ga ngaya scholarship, financial aid and molay sero October last year meel al mola motor la master sir kau.
Yes. So on when I was working on my bachelor's degree, I got a little bit of a Pell Grant, not a lot, not enough to cover my entire bachelor's degree. So I got a little bit of Pell Grant. I did take out some student loans, but mainly I worked on getting scholarships. So there were organizations like the Uochi Endowment Foundation and different private scholarships opportunities. I would just apply, because they always tell me, they'll apply. That's why sometimes those scholarships, they go unawarded because no one applies. But it's so easy. Sometimes it's just name, make sure, 500 words on what you want to do. Okay. And so you just write it down, and then you submit the application at all.
So as we speak, motor giran master seka order full time. On top of that, and I'm sure kal ngilo amlim makapera car loaner ka, student loaner ka.
So yeah, student loan is deferred until after I graduate.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because it's a U.S. federal student loan.
Ang makorawan din was meel ang al sugum let's say gawa master sir ka in December. Hopefully most of them will return na next year mervelan meudor. I mean, we can, you can contribute to our nation building with, your background. And I think close to Talel, because as the reason why I ask is because you have a background in HR, and I think gira the chance to say the mindset ra service ma aigel loul laurior el murar ad especially tigel laurior government ma national and state government. Because, I want to share a story with you, and I think it's something that really should be addressed. And I found out that it hasn't been shared to the employees of the government, because recently there's like a young lady who was working and she complained about sexual harassment. And if you can, since kamlato, then kamlara UOG va HRM, amigol chis aklela kangara HR. If you can share your experience on that, on how we can educate people, ratora sexual harassment, ngaraigel do's and don'ts, ngaraigel appear del gora walbol.
So definitely, I guess, working on Title IX. Title IX is a U.S. federal law that prohibits all educational institutes receiving federal money, U.S. federal money, and any company receiving U.S. federal funds from discriminating on the basis of sex, which includes sexual harassment. And so that's always something, especially educating, I guess, I don't want to sound discriminatory, but the older generation, because there's some jokes that may sound innocent in their ears, but it was always a point of explaining that the point of Title IX is it's the person, how the person interprets it. So maybe you didn't mean the joke in a sexual manner, but if the person it's pervasive enough and the person keeps feeling that they are being harassed in that way, that's their own expression, and so you're able to accuse that person of sexual harassment. And so I think sexual harassment is not only, I think when people think of sexual harassment, they think of like rape or something like that, but
it's not just verbal, but even
it's not only just physical touch, but it's also can be verbal. It can be even jokes or GIFs or things on Messenger or WhatsApp. WhatsApp, I think on Guam is a bigger problem. If you send jokes on the WhatsApp chat, or now you have ChatGPT and AI making certain edits that can be perceived as discriminatory, harassment for one person. And so, sexual harassment goes beyond just physical and verbal face to face, but it can even be like things like dating violence, stalking on social media. And so it's really, you want to always, if you're in a position of power, especially, you never want to make it appear as if you're asking for favors, because that can be seen as quid pro quo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like if you say, "Oh yes, if you give me a kiss, I'll do this for you," or "Yeah, I'll get your promotion, but if you give me a kiss or give me a hug," that can be quid pro quo. That's sexual harassment.
And if you can share like the physical touch.
Physical touch, it can be anything seen as pervasive. So slapping, touching, even if like the usual, what I've dealt with before is this older guy that keeps hugging this young girl and without consent. And then the girl keeps saying stop it, but every day it's a hug, and her girl feels uncomfortable. And so if you feel uncomfortable, you should definitely report it to HR, your management, and they should put a stop to it, because although the guy may not have bad intentions, they feel you're making the worker feel uncomfortable. Because again, right, we don't know what's going on through people's minds. So even if they have good or bad intentions, which we cannot assume, we just need to maintain that professional boundary. There was my coworker always likes to say to people, you need to leave space for Jesus.
But there's also those hugs like the Hawaiians, right?
Yeah, right.
They're, when they see people, but you can tell when there's a hug that just go beyond it, just,
Yeah, because even on Guam, and here, well, when you see someone, you hug them. You hug them. But then there's always, you can tell, it's you have to use your best discretion. And if someone says no, stop, then say no and stop. Don't keep on going. I think that's also another thing is if you don't know and someone tells you to stop, don't just say, oh, no, just toss the no away and keep going.
So you mentioned about that section, say the section and mosaldangira discriminatory. Ngaringi ay gel gora aftermath after it and makarang. Let's say there's a case like it. What I ngaray gel steps sub ML kawa share el modangel sub ML share mang. Hopefully our leaders or rinser give mang moral sub el mukut makliya la el white it.
So in my experience and what I'm also establishing now is when you need to establish steps to do an investigation, right? Because both sides have rights in any case, both sides have rights. So first it has to be, we always say the victim needs to come forward. It cannot be, I heard. It can, we always hear. I've always had complaints where, I heard so and so have this happened to them and this happened to them, but then you cannot issue complaints based on hearsay. Yeah. So first the victim, or if the perp wants to, then the perp can come forward. So one of them needs to come forward and make the complaint. And then from there should be an investigation where if there's witnesses, then you interview the witnesses and then you get a 360 view of the entire case. Just like any investigation. And it should be the investigators. It's also a really good point. And I don't know how feasible that is. I know on Guam, they'll give el maring because especially in the government, everyone's related. But you try to get people that are not related to the people in the situation or the witnesses. People that are not also related, but also not in the same department. They don't work together. So you try to get independent investigators. And then once those investigators, once they do their job, they put together a report and give it to a decision maker. Usually the decision maker would be the director or the HR, but someone who is independent and has not touched the case. So you see there's 3 separate hands. There's someone doing the intake, then there's someone doing investigation, and then someone making an independent decision. So 3 independent hands touching the case so we can have the most equitable outcome. Because if you have the same person doing everything, then maybe facts will not become right. The process dahil mongil. Yeah.
Malgi malme. Mangire malmol nga sew. El ang swatan misal that tora human resources, and I think it close to talel that dahil batokol ava mal blol masal daringi. Like you mentioned the older folks, right? El ang aringi ar ngal kaldir katilo dara school me orior ngari tigel guk makatatal orior. How do we help balance that? Leng ngari tigel like a friend of mine said dahil swadal tiro yamrael, and we also discussed it. And let the younger people who are educated come and take over the job. And then diak selgorawal encyclopedia ubar adal madangalia alsel. If and how can we balance that? Because there's people who's been working for like almost 25 years in the position, and apel other loba school, and then dia experience niya di mel lengalakra adal.
Definitely. And so I think that's a struggle everywhere. But I think in mind, you need to balance both of it because, there's 2 sides to the issue, right? One side is that I understand the wanting to get fresh graduates because, at least for Belau, it entices them to El Mayo. And then not only that is that it entices them to come back, it entices them to want to contribute, but it also they want new, fresh information. They want new, fresh perspectives, right?
Especially with technology now.
Especially with technology and updating processes. However, it's also important to know and keep around those who and balance it, right? With those with what we call institutional knowledge, because institutional knowledge the is the key factor to what understanding the processes. Because a lot of the times when things are made or processes are made, these things weren't written down why they're made. And so you want to understand the ngara auul process always, or why are the forms made like this? Even the formatting the forms, why are the forms made like this? Or why do we have so many forms for this one thing? Is there really a big reason? And then maybe you'll find out, back in the day we had to give copy el mortel agency, but now submitted the email, so we can just reduce it to one form. But then leaders, I guess, also have to be wary of those who were part, I guess, of this Palau, such a young nation, the nation building back in the day, and the building of these processes, that now they're so honed on the processes and they want to hold on tightly to it. There needs to be and this is the challenge for leaders, right? And that's why they're supposed to be leaders, is because they're supposed to balance the renewing and re-envisioning of government processes with the stabilization of what has been done. Because you cannot just a government and any company can never be stable if you keep uprooting everything. Every time a new person comes in, the whole process is changed again. You need to keep some idea of the old process, but it's never a bad idea to refresh the processes. But there can be, those who have been sitting for a long time that don't want to change, right? And so the leaders' jobs is to adjust, right? And say, okay, we're going to keep some of this and explain that, we're going to keep some of these old processes, but this is why we're going to change. And if, maybe there's people who are uncomfortable with technology, then it's also up to them to give training, make them comfortable with technology. I know their technology and age are not limited. This I know for at least where I work, the chief accountant is ngara 70 siringi, and then she's able to use computers and knows Word and Excel better than I do, and she taught herself. So I think it's just having a leader who can inspire open-mindedness in individuals.
Ilang kadoreng sarbotol adel di masaudara adel soril micromanage. Kamgora share say.
God, I hate micromanagers. I sorry, that's the one. I cannot work under a micromanager. Micromanagers, actually, there's research. So SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management. I looked this up one time because my friend has a micromanager of a boss. So I was showing her the data to show her boss, because I was
what was in the data?
I forgot what the numbers were exactly, but it basically showed that employees who are micromanaged are less effective than employees who have a boss who gives them the free range to really think. Because also ka micromanager at, then there's two points. There's one, they might become dependent on your decision making. So depending on how bad the micromanagement is, you're not allowing them to flex that creative muscle that allows them to be innovative and renew and refresh ideas. And so you're limiting their growth. Number two, if you have a micromanager of a boss, then it also limits the growth of the employees, because the employees don't want to stay there. They don't want to be managed 110% of the time. So you're going to also drive them out, because there's also a term quiet quitting. They will do the bare minimum. They won't go above and beyond for the organization, because they're going to be like, I don't want to spend any time after 5 here. For even maybe by 4:30, they're already packed up and ready to head out the door.
Yeah, and even still tuta obagis, hindi halswamel mo odor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If work is now a place where you dread because of your boss, that's, everyone says that's not a good workplace, you need to leave. But then so now you have all that knowledge and all that potential leaving an organization for a better organization. And then this is not to say we shouldn't manage our employees, we should, but there's a fine balance between managing and micromanaging. And I'm very blessed to have worked with bosses who they give me that creative freedom. For me, just give me the goal and then I'll figure my way out. But
Or how to
do it. I'll figure my way there and I'll give you the result you want, maybe even better, because you gave me that knowledge and space. And I think that's how a lot of in companies with high performers, that's how they lead. Because a lot of my friends who are not only high performance, but they're really happy in their company, their bosses are very laxed, or they
like
call
the CEO of NVIDIA. That's
Yeah.
how he leads his siya titilit siya leader about the
And or even a local example is the director John Rivera. He's the HR director of Citadel. I have a friend who works in HR. He's very laissez-faire. He just gives them their assignment and allows them the freedom to do it just as long as you do it. Even and there's even as far as like in office time versus out of office time, they as long as they get their assignments done, they're where they need to be, where their goals are met, their key performance indicators are met, everything's good. But
how about ngariar adal kukureng sertiral masadara al sugo mangwaudaso, let's say kamareta ngag enga hamas kaudaso eungiluldaso dinguk ti al swalaudasoek. I think ang most similar ti agidal mosadangi, but how can magarada ititiar adal longhara le mareta raudor al mo support rar adal ngar eungir. I think, I don't know if it's a small island mentality or what, but I don't know. I just I don't know. Maybe because I think you're so open, just like me. Like we're open to new ideas. We're open to people sharing and finding ways how we can all move forward and improve in our work and be successful in it. But I think a lot of times our already saying we're still in our own shell.
Yeah, and I think, change is scary. And I think especially when you're not in a position of power and you have an idea, I think leaders can sometimes be scared of change, or for maybe some leaders, maybe who you are, and if you're not this, then okay, but maybe tamasay kal marula change. They're okay with the way things are because it benefits them, right? And so whether maybe they're thinking, oh, tiamoklol project ere, right? And so a lot of it has to do with also the leaders of leaders need to be accountable for their leaders. There needs to be a clear performance evaluation. They need to set goals, and there needs to be accountability of, are things improving? If things are not improving, then is it the employee's fault, or is it because you're not leading the organization well? And I think when people get into certain positions, they get jaded to the fact of they also need to be open and continuously improve. And I have also seen where leaders can get jaded because they are in now a position where now they think they know the whole world. But some of the best leaders that I've known and I've learned from is that learning is always continuous. Improvement is always continuous, and you need to continuously be open to new ideas, because you have to admit. And then this was the former director of Pacific Islands Club, the HR director. He was telling me that, you always have to admit you cannot be a master of everything, or someone will always be better than you at something. You as a leader cannot be good at every single thing. There's always going to be someone whose niche is payroll, someone whose niche is benefits. Your goal as a leader is to unite those people with specialization, and maybe you don't know everything, but learn from them, tie them together, and make the organization better. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand where you're serving. But again, that's a mindset and attitude issue. And so, I'm not sure how we can prevent people being jaded over the years, but that's definitely an issue for leaders of leaders.
And I believe that adal nga ra HR al akirel somebody wap personality gal open willing sab malorings. Because ako mister ka kamal open na personality rakaw and somebody sab approachable. And I gunda sing malklog to teletia labor force kita abolway say. And so if you can share your experience through Gayita Tora HR.
Yeah, so my experience so far has been really good. So I was able to receive my professional certification. So I'm professionally certified in HR, SHRM CP, which is the kind of executive level certification for HR. So even after my name, there can be the acronym SHRM CP after my name now. I know. That one was the one I really wanted. I was like, oh, now so I was showing my friends, oh, see, now there's acronyms after my name. But see, so with HR, for me, I really love HR because it's, you're really, I think, the heart of the organization. Because not only do you manage the people or the workforce, but you also help manage not their personalities, you help manage, their pay, the payroll, and then just overall ensuring that there's some type of talent development that's going on in the organization, right? Ensuring that there's a clear pipeline. And I think now in my new role, I'm really exploring that, is establishing clear pipeline. So suko mo ka start at a school aide, can you work your way up and mura office clerk, or maybe eventually if you're working on your degree, mo sensei, right? So, and really focusing on how can we help these grow the employees that are currently in the company so they stay with us for the long term and bring in new fresh talent with new ideas. And so I think that's also a way we can balance it, is having the people grow through the organization and then having new individuals come in. And for me, and what I look for in interviews is I look for trainability. Are they trainable? Because if they're trainable, then
You hire them.
yeah, you can give them anything and they'll be willing to learn, because it's harder. And I always, when I was a TA and I would present different things for the business classes, we always mention that soft skills now are more important than ever. You can have all the hard skills. You can be master of Excel, accounting, ngarangklel, but also you're not able to communicate clearly your thoughts clearly, if you're not able to be a team player, if you're not even able to get along with your boss, if you're not open to new ideas, and if you're not trainable, then you're really useless in the organization unless you own your own business, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because the only good person you're going to be working for is yourself.
So true. I hope Minister Ngirait Batu can meet up with you and no, I'm serious. So you can help. I'm sure you can contribute a big deal. I mean, akti mga ito arkawe meral ko ramwa si o kamal sa emel maram sa emel nguso ko mamrang mangarang. And I think a lot of the state, national government, and of course the private sector can use your experience and your skills and your knowledge on what you just shared with us. So I hope my friend Minister Ngiray will be able to reach out to you. You're leaving when?
Monday
night. And when are you coming back again?
to be decided.
No, but we really akimra lowering or asimral ulgumang sub emel mongen mutan me. I think you can contribute to PCC, our human resource and labor. I think malsabetalo spe askit sa rapatokal lurio ra sa lablur Belau mang I hope paanggor ka ra within nasab elmo encourager ka mutan may el ang nga dili ko to ko ram wrap up. How can we use technology ra tora igayidalurele the tora especially HR mal so kan masaba HR because I think in imol topic not a lot of people talk about akundas include to talel especially more our other lower not the leaders but the people who are the workforce behind it. How we how magarata encourage your team, magarata protect their team, magarata be their voice, and make sure that aigal complaints igel sorry rata sa but make sure tangan mister adult sa il mga mok laigal lontarir.
So that's definitely, I think technology, we need to start incorporating more technology into the work, especially HR practices. Because even where I'm at now, others, and I have to believe that a lot of places are the same way where it's very paper-based, right? Paper-based processes. So the issue with paper-based processes, things can get lost or it only exists on paper, so you cannot access it anywhere. And so I think what technology does is for the workers, it makes the work easy, especially if we're to utilize things like artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Claude, even Meta AI. If you can utilize those to make your workplace easier. And I think a good example is if you need to build like some type of Excel sheet, right? And you don't know where to start, you can ask AI for guidance on how to build. If you're trying to build performance trackers or interview scheduling tracking or even an applicant dashboard, you can ask ChatGPT to guide you and get ideas. The key though is always use your critical thinking and your experience and ideas as an individual in AI formation. You should never just rely on AI and the outputs from AI because AI can make mistakes. Yeah, and sometimes their outputs are really off.
That's what I told Janice yesterday. Sometimes AI is not accurate.
Yeah. So sometimes AI is just off. So you need to I know one of my professors was just saying this, and there was a quote by one of the tech giants in Silicon Valley is that the workers now are going to be the best workers now are the ones who know how to use AI to improve their work and improve themselves.
I think I heard the CEO of NVIDIA say that.
The traditional workforce are out the door. So you can have the traditional skills, but you also need AI skills how to use AI to make your work more efficient, because AI can help cut your workload in half instead of having to critically think about a lot of things. Even just as easy as if you have like emails, right? You can have AI form you a general email template, and then you just keep substituting the fields. If you have a lot of the same type of email to send out, like maybe like rejection letters or interview notifications, right? Or kindly, I received your request. Give how many days to, instead of thinking of all the nice words to say, just have AI write the words for you. And even now, I've seen more and more here in Palau and on Guam the rise of AI generated posters. And I can already always I can see where the AI generated posters are, but they're nice posters. And for people who may not have skills to design, right, and don't want to wait to design and want to design something nice and quick and easy, then they can use AI to definitely generate things like recruitment flyers or event flyers, right? So AI can do a lot for us, but I also think there's a lot to also, other than just AI technology. For me personally, I've been seeing how important it is to know how to use things like Excel more. So I'm continuously learning, because Excel, there's so many different possibilities and formulas and ways of formatting it. So for me, that's something I'm continuously learning how to do, right? But even just different technological solutions to HR. One of the, maybe, I don't know if there's I think Belau has like an HRIS system, the HR information system, but systems like those can actually, you're mentioning how can we keep people's voices accountable. So depending on how they set it up, they can actually give live updates. So if you have an investigation, right, we can through the HRS system, depending on the system itself and how it's set up, you can give the respondent or the person who filed the complaint live updates on where their case is. It's currently being investigated, decision making pending, decision, and then sends it out. And so in that way, it keeps everyone accountable because it shows what step in the process you are rather than just turning in a paper form and hoping you hear back in.
And I see our Bureau of Labor division now. When you, if you're bringing workers from Sumgamlartira, Bangladesh, Alubang Huriping, or anywhere, foreign workers, once il complete tababini, mo harara finance. Esel bomregal hara finance, kung receipt del mong. Di nga ra labor, mara letira sender sel document and mara immigration, mata start the process. So it's electronically. So I was very impressed that and ma hospital la most of it when you go to the wards to visit. Kadim tira botang simara open. Malgona mo matamral gora maran mo haite.
Yeah. And then also, there's the idea of eliminating also things like paper payroll and paper timesheet. Certain organizations, I know, they have an app. So so people can just go on the app, enter their time or time in, time out. Ang garoy. There babier that can get lost or lerak me lose the timesheet terangak.
Ngidi bol on time el motor de liver.
Yeah. And so through that, they use they can use geo-trackers. So you can only time in, the app will only let you time in when you're in a certain range of the building. So I know companies on Guam that do that. They do electronic time in, and their phones will not let them time in until they're in a certain radius of this building.
Oh, wow.
And then it goes, once the time is at the end of, let's say, the pay period, it goes to a time entry approver. And so the supervisor has to approve the time. So even if, let's say, they chill at a parking lot and then they time in, then their supervisor can see, oh no, they said they came in at 8, they actually came in at this time, so they can adjust that they made.
Wow.
So everything's fast, everything's there, nothing gets lost. Even right now, I'm exploring processes for things like verification of employment, things like even if they want to request for direct deposit, those things can be automated. You just turn in the form at any time so you don't have to send emails, because I think the problem with emails is emails or paper requests get lost.
Now, abela ngayon sell direct deposit ra government. Yeah.
And then, but even with like VOE, so then for like
VOE?
Verification of employment, if you want to take out a loan or something, then you can, there's like a one-stop portal, you can just put it in and then it's automatically in one area.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Leng. Nga ra PNCC ma PPUC. They go on like a contract basis, nanti 2 years. Mang maring artira mo malalong, like let's say malaralong rablirit. And they also maring artira malalong lendi 2 years and mo mara contract, even though most likely their contract will continue. But I gumdas it's something that Belau should look at.
I mean, if they're a contract worker and they've been having a continuous contract, I don't see why the verification couldn't indicate that, they were employed from this date to this date, this date to this date, or if it's a continuous contract, then just put the continuous contract, right?
I think it's something that...
but I guess it just depends on the format and how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, magamaran musulang. I think it's a blessing. I believe it's a blessing that malmasaw la ang gorgarawidan nalgukmlayim lo so bel introducer ka kamalmla inspire kita tokora school matokora urior, and I'm glad kang ilusel experience ka sera omto the motor UOG. I think mal matingi omosad man patoka tips blam share lo bangged mo hopefully. But I really hope Minister Ngiralmau so they reach out to Leboracao before you go, and hopefully mga masters ka mo sa ML At least take of Belau, maybe 2-3 years, and then see how it is. I think they can offer you a very good salary. Then, like I mentioned in the past in my shows, ako kasi kadabal all malarar adarangot al balloon me belan, we pay for their airfare, their move, and their transportation and their housing. Hopefully, and sab ilguk extend the ringin morar other belau. And let's say give them 1 year, 2 years to adjust. Okore maybe may modiakal provide amlia arala apartment mamli mi hopefully by then and sub immunity commute. So hopefully we'll see that train soon. But yeah, we hope that you really kamo sab emel mongel mutan merbela ko I think ang malbato ka sab emel share offer, and I think we need more of our Palawan young people returning home and contributing. But please keep an open mind on it.
Of course.
And I'll kumaska matim do closing itong assumer. Maybe you can share Tora school, somebody who wants to, let's say, atim lamo 2 years sa Tora high school. Ngaraigel ko suggest talubam inspiring most of elom daw sa almutema school and the al time it's like before a BA ako ram limeringer siral tema me al time ngora mal namo peyotar magigaril ada mala masters tire tol magigaril ada ma double major, so we're very proud, and there's a lot of scholarships, a lot of opportunity mora arangalgar al time ra siral tema. And then, I forgot to mention financial literacy. Sera first administration na President Surang Lakne Eskra Angel ne Minister Education Jenkins about financial literacy. And now when ko param la mo start lo misrar atel misal peringi ngara sab emel ko share I say.
Yeah, I think financial literacy is so important because, I think being educated on things like there's a lot of people who don't know what the difference is between a savings, my checking account, or what's the purpose of a credit score, my credit card, and then how to even build credit, right? I know people who are in their 30s and 40s and they have a credit because they've just never gotten credit cards and any type of loan or anything. So I think it's important we build financial literacy early, especially if you're planning to, if you're a parent sending your kids out to college abroad. I think there needs to be some type of focus on financial literacy, because I've seen so many of my classmates who they struggle financially because they don't know how to manage their money. And coming to a new place, a new home, and then you also don't know how to manage your own money, and mom and dad are not just right there to support the rakao, and then you're also in charge of buying your own food, your toiletries, and all that. You need to have some type of guidance, right? And so I think it's important we establish that guidance early on and show people how they can be smart and let their money work for them, right?
You see.
So even talking things about like investing their money, whether that be into a 401k or Roth IRA, seeing how they can make their money grow for them. Yeah.
So man suda makul maskaw mo musum etong kasimra.
So I guess a last piece of advice for me was that if you're despite anything, if you are thinking of even going back to school, it's never too late. College, university, whether it be on the ground, online, is a valuable tool that you can use. I think sometimes we can have a growing cynicism about the worthiness of a college degree, but I think college allows you to it gives you skills like critical thinking, and allows you to have that type of open mindset, and gives you access to new ideas on top of networking with peers, right? So it's never too late to go back. If I had a classmate who she already had a whole life behind her. She raised 2 kids, sent them off to the States. She's actually one of my best friends in school. She sent 2 kids off to the States already for college. And she decided to go back to school, and she was, almost my parents' age. And we did our bachelor's together, and then now we're doing our master's together. So it's never too late. And then another one of my classmates, she has 8 kids, and she still balances going to school and owns her own business. So it's never too late. And I guess the one thing that I can leave you all with is a quote that I heard at a recent SHRM breakfast briefing. It's a meeting for SHRM Guam, was that sometimes self-care, there is not a lack of time for self-care. It's that you don't prioritize yourself. So we all need to start prioritizing ourselves and balancing our responsibilities and really prioritizing our own self-care, whether that be professional development or even things like exercise, nutrition, sleeping. Yeah.
And then in closing, nguraman lo viral ang gele kapernor ko mirakwam low yek. I'm glad. Well, a lot of different kakaroon sa opinions there are, but it was nice to actually see her at a Memorial Day in Guam with it. So, kung malmusular at harakwa malgargik government rakwa kom support. So thank you so much. Man masaulak mutan bring asulela ang korgararitan ang losop elop palmay ang mal inspiring story ka yak ngit. Lom ergamamel batokal other vela rose pongem lutel may and contribute at least come for at least a year then. But we'll see after your master's in December. We hope to, you can consider sa emel mongel mutan may adang kumral lo masaw lul panggeter el alsils bom karkik lang gorama takim se kloa ulem se sayol tenga ya small craft warning mo kumal masaw lul pangget ya Dios lol mon lo makaltangat tergida rogoy mapalwat pela kumal isulang.